It's been just over a month since the Nintendo Switch release, and it's nice to see everyone so happy with their new consoles and finally being released from the constraints of the original Switch. Finally, games that don't look outdated and run better than this. I'm sure this console release won't be filled with controversy and outcry from the gaming populace. Yeah, safe to say the Switch 2 has been filled with controversy from reveal to release. Ever since it was first revealed at the start of the year, there has been people not happy with Nintendo's newest console, despite it being pretty much an upgrade in every sense of the word. More powerful, bigger screen, more storage, all baseline improvements. Also the fact that the system itself is just a lot more premium than the original. Seriously, the Switch OLED looks like a toy in comparison to the Switch 2. So why with all these improvements has the Switch 2 been so controversial? Well, the main issue that people have with the console was the price. People had their predictions how much the console was going to be before the Direct back in April, but most landed on about $400 or $450 on the high side. So when it came out to be $500, it came as a big shock to many, which led to disappointment and anger from a lot of people who weren't expecting it to be so expensive, as Nintendo has always been a much more budget-friendly option compared to Xbox and PlayStation. So that was the biggest reason why a lot of people have disdain towards the Switch 2, but it's not the only reason. No, the other reason which I see is the fact that the launch lineup of games is a little bit disappointing. Unless you only play your games on a Switch, the Switch 2 at the moment is a Mario Kart machine. Well, Mario Kart or that £10 demo Nintendo wants you to buy, but no. For most people, Mario Kart is the only worthwhile exclusive for the console, and if you don't like Mario Kart, then the Switch 2 is essentially a $500 paperweight for now. So with these major factors in place, did I smartly hold off from buying the Switch 2 until it was a decent price, or wait off until there's more than one game worth playing on it? Of course not. Who do you think I am? A man with self-restraint? Now the question you might be asking is why? And I can't speak for everyone. Today I'll give you my reasons why I bought the Switch 2 on release. And despite all the controversy, and why although the console is probably not worth it now, it will more than likely be worth it in the future. But if you want more gaming discussions like this about not only Nintendo, but all the facets of gaming, please consider liking and subscribing as it helps me out massively. But with all of that, let's get into it. So to understand my perspective better on why I would buy a Switch 2 on release, I think it's important to understand my relationship with Nintendo and their products. So if you yourself are on the fence about the console, I want to use my video as a help towards that decision. So I am a very big fan of Nintendo and always have been my whole life. I was always a Nintendo kid, where many of my friends growing up were in the trenches of the Call of Duty lobbies, shouting obscenities down to the microphones to strangers on the internet. I was being told I was obese by the Wii Fit board, and lifting my arm in the air while trying to form a Skyward Strike and Skyward Sword. I bought a Wii U on purpose, believing it was the best choice out of the three consoles at the time. I also bought the original Switch on launch, when everyone's confidence with Nintendo was at an all-time low, simply because I wanted to play Breath of the Wild, a brand new game in my favourite franchise, in the best way possible. Speaking of my favourite franchise, Zelda. I love Zelda, but it's not the only Nintendo franchise I love. I love Mario, Metroid, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Splatoon, and my god, I've sold my soul to Pokemon over the years, despite the decline. So it's pretty safe to say I've got a biased point of view when it comes to the Switch 2, as I'm obviously a long-term Nintendo fan who has a lot of core and fantastic memories with their games. Despite all this though, I'm not blind to everything about the company, as I'm able to sit here and say that despite my love for this company and the memories they have given me, I know the Switch 2 won't be for everyone, but the main reason I bought the Switch 2 on release was I was investing in it for the future. As a game console, it's a wholly unique product. As with any other thing you buy, like a TV, computer, phone, fridge, whatever you buy, that on what the service the product can offer you now, and not what it can offer you 5 years from now. As a fridge that only adds a light 3 years after you've bought it wouldn't sound very appealing to anyone. But when you buy a games console brand new, in the first couple of months of release, it's like you're buying it at its worst possible iteration. As like with the Switch 2, you are buying the console when there is the least amount of games possible. The longer you hold off to buy the console, the more games you're going to have to play when you eventually do buy one. And this sort of thing isn't unique to the Switch 2 either, as most if not all gaming consoles throughout history have always released with a handful of games, with people often feeling shortchanged with the product they have just spent a lot of money on, especially in some instances where there really wasn't what you would call a system seller at launch. Take a look at one of the most successful consoles in recent memory, the PS4. The PS4 is remembered very fondly now as a great system with great games, but at launch it's safe to say it didn't exactly come out the gate swinging, as the most notable launch title was Killzone Shadowfall, a mediocre end to the much loved Killzone franchise, so not exactly a great launch. But other than the release of infamous Second Son in February 2014, which was a better game than Killzone Shadowfall, was still not a system seller that wowed people. It would take till March 2015 until Bloodborne was released to say that the PS4 had a game that was worth choosing a PS4 over an Xbox One over, a whole 16 months after the release of the PS4. But those who stuck with the PS4, most people really didn't regret their choice, as the PS4 ended up with one of the most stacked lineups in console history. Other than Bloodborne, there was Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Days Gone, Marvel's Spider-Man, The Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima, and that's just the first party lineup. There were plenty of other amazing third party exclusives, so what I'm trying to say is that Switch 2's lackluster launch lineup doesn't exactly worry me, because I know what's coming soon, and I know what a potential lineup for the future can be. But within the next 6 months, we are getting a new Hyrule Warriors game that will finally be able to run better than 10 FPS, a brand new Pokemon game that will also run better than 10 FPS, and also not look ugly as sin, a brand new Kirby Air Rider after 20 years, and the two standouts to me personally, a brand new Donkey Kong 3D platformer, which, I will be honest, this looks phenomenal and really could be a sleeper game of the year contender if it's as good as it looks, and the long awaited Metroid Prime 4, which I'm so excited for I can't even tell you. And that's what we know of right now. There's always the possibility that Nintendo are hiding some stuff from us that will be shown in an upcoming Direct. And in my opinion, that's a pretty stacked lineup for the first 6 months of a console. And that's only the first party stuff. There's also going to be a bigger third party presence with the more powerful Switch 2. We already know that From Software are making an exclusive game for the system called The Dustbloods. And then there's Hades 2, which is going to be a timed console exclusive. And as someone who loved the original, I can't wait to play the second as soon as it hits 1.0, and it's something that I'll be playing on my Switch 2. So although I don't think the games on the Switch 2 right now are worth the price of the console, but in 12 months time there are going to be plenty of games that will be worth the price of the console to me, and within that time there's the possibility of a new Mario game or a new Zelda game being announced, so I'm really buying into the potential of the console as opposed to what it offers today. So the question you might be asking yourself is, why buy it now, as opposed to when the potential of the console is truly realised? Well, unfortunately, that's where the more depressing reasons into why I bought the console on release, and that links to the availability of the console and the price. So before release, and the pre-orders went up, I made sure to do my best to get a hold of a pre-order, as with the wonderful modern trend of console releases, is that people love to scalp them and sell them on for a profit, making it impossible for any regular people to pay normal prices for a console. I remember what it was like for most people who tried to get their hands on a PS5 when it came out, and honestly, it scared me into pre-ordering consoles that I'm interested in, as my FOMO wouldn't be able to handle missing out on something that I'm really excited for months after it released. But this time around, it seems like, in the UK at least, Nintendo has been able to keep up with the demand, as the console's availability has been pretty readily available. But in hindsight it's 2020, and I wasn't going to risk not being able to play Metroid Prime 4, a game that I've been excited for many years, in the best way possible. So that's one reason. The other being what's happening on the other side of the pond. With the likelihood of the price of the Switch 2 going up in price over there, there's a chance it would be going up everywhere else as well, with the world due to the current economic changes. I just think the time when you can buy a games console significantly cheaper than when it was released is over. Look at the PS5, it's actually more expensive to buy one now compared to the release at retail. So for me, these were good enough reasons as to why I bought a Nintendo Switch 2 on release, but I can only speak for myself. There are plenty of people out there who are struggling financially and simply can't afford one, even if they are excited for one. And this video is in no way trying to be a definitive reason into why you should buy one, because it's ultimately up to you and what you think you will get out of the console. For me, as a die-hard Nintendo fan who's looking forward to a lot of upcoming games and excited at future games in my favourite franchise, I was always going to get a Switch 2. I suppose time will tell, but even though it's not worth it now, it ultimately will. If you watched the end, thank you, I really appreciate it. And if you did like the video, please consider subscribing and liking the video, as it helps my channel out massively. And let me know in the comments which Switch 2 game you are most looking forward to. So once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you again.